Well, we're in for the marathon run here. Game 2 of the lower bracket is on its way, well on its way. And if you were one of those teams coming out of the uppers, well, here you have it. Hopefully, luck is on your side and you don't have teams landing on you. We've already seen that it is affecting the overall standings. It's affecting the way teams are able to perform here. And for now, we're going to start with the southernmost POI on the map, the Brutal Beachhead here, which has a couple of teams right now, and this is a bit of a 50-50 split. On the other side, Edgy and Def continue on their way while Blizzard and Gord take a fight here.
And we saw Blizzard and Gord at one point in the upper bracket when they were contesting Tayson and Iamzo here at P-Boys headquarters, but now they're dealing with the likes of Paco and Vorteca. It might all come down exclusively to drop knowledge, but Paco and Vorteca, they seem to have gathered what they wanted from this initial starting point. They're not going to pursue an early elimination or two. Yuma lurking, though.
How?
He sees Cease and Jack moving in front of him, but it looks as if Cease and Jack already got the better end of this exchange because there's no Flinty. Yuma sprinting around opposite direction now. Seems as though he's escaped the clutches of Cease and Jack. Might get a chance to look back, figure out exactly what went wrong here for Flinty. And yeah, it's just gonna be Jack with the overhead view off the combat shotgun, just collapses onto Flinty. No Yuma to actually provide the support coverage he needed. And Jack still kind of hovering in this area here at Restored Reels. Not necessarily directly camping on Flinty's reboot card by any means, but could potentially be the strat, because if Yuma actually decides to circle back around and it's just going to provide another elimination opportunity for Cease and Jack, I mean, they're all for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was getting the feeling that they're still very much aware Yuma's nearby, so looks like they're moving with high alert. TK and Turtle Tavern here on the move right now, playing the western side of the beach. It's a great drop when you don't have players landing on top of you. I've seen Bach and Pars play this area a few times. Up and down his beach is one of their alternate drops, but no reason to worry about them at the moment. Oh, let's take a look at this given high ground here from Curve and Tyler. Geek and Velo obviously understand and see that there is a team above them. And Tyler setting up the Nitro, potentially go for the push, but no. Geek and company are not going to sit around and wait for that to happen.
Still seems as if Tyler and Carver are at least moderately interested in trying to chase this one down, but depending on how far north on these outskirts they actually choose to move, keep in mind they might even end up encountering Oliver OG and Craze after a certain point in time. Or even Ziggy and Phenom, just some of those teams located a little bit more towards that northern outskirts. In fact, Phenom, Ziggy, they've got a good idea that there's, you know, shots fired. Let's see if we can get, you know, involved in this action at all. Velo, poor guy, just trying to escape, but Geek, he's gonna make the first move down, and Tyler doesn't get a chance to respond. A big hit from Geekstash to open things up.
And then the follow-up from Velo there while all that unfolded, and they come out on top. And this, I was gonna say, this is not looking too good. Phenom is gonna come right on down. He catches Geek, who didn't even have shields yet, didn't really get to reap the benefits of his elimination there. He doesn't even need Ziggy, but Ziggy's here now. This should be all but over. And look at this, Phenom's already had 2 eliminations. This is gonna be their 3rd, so they managed to pick someone up not shortly before this. Oh, they might have actually stolen one of those elims from the hands. Yeah, from the hands of Velo.
That's what it's looking like. That is a
I was trying to piece together. I'm like, dang, they already have 2. No, they stole some elims.
That's part of the problem, though. You go for the chase, you never know who might get involved in the mix. I mean, 2 teams just instantaneously turns 3.
You called that perfectly. You literally was like, hey, you know, they land right there, and then bam.
Yeah, Summit Base Camp, man. Summit Temple, that's like that eastern section of the map. But, hey, Northern action just continues to pop off here. Noxie and Crisp trying to lock down Verge and immediately going, try and take out the floor from underneath him. Finally, success there for Noxie. Verge just sandwiched between a full team. Really not many opportunities to try and escape. And sure enough, it's all going to come down to that final lobby to see whether or not some of these teams that have been early eliminated, MDF, can actually come out big. But they're going to have to go out swinging at the very least.
Yeah, everyone's got to put up a fight. Made it this far. Played through the grueling stages of the tournaments. Uppers, lowers, long days, longer days for some. And here we have it. Jumping in with Short, Zypha now. Just outside the classic courts. This is a 2-on-2 battle happening right now. Another team might be throwing in their opinions here shortly. Give me a minute though. For now, Short deciding to play a little bit more passively, defensively down low. Normally we see them with the dominant hold and a bit more aggressive, given that they have a lot more experience than most of these teams in the lower bracket right now. But Sineto and DeQuinted are very, very much part of this community. They've been around for quite some time here. They've seen their fair share of FNCSs. Look at this though. Another team from the south now has rotated up alongside the outskirts, gathering towards the attention being drawn here due to the shot. So everyone here is in a very dangerous position. Oliver OG included, given that he's the team on the outskirts. And then there's another one wrapping wide here that I don't even believe they know that they're all near one another. So that fight might just break out right now.
Sunito and DeQuinted, they've at least got the process started, but sure enough, Oliver OG from behind just completely catches Sunito off guard, and now Zypha Shore, that's gonna alleviate all the pressure that Sunito was once applying towards their walls. Craze as well, playing from a relatively split position from Oliver OG, but Oliver knows, hey, I've got the high ground at least for right now. I know exactly where these two other teams are located. Craze, just go for the flank. And all the while, Shore, Zypha, they're gonna actually be forced to come to a complete halt here, actually opting to try and break open some of the walls of these pre-existing buildings that the map's providing. Oliver OG and Craze, though, just staying strong. Craze actually came back to play side by side, hip to hip here with Oliver OG even. And for good reason, MDF, because when there's this many teams surrounding you, you've got a little bit of damage. You might as well move forward, because now Oliver OG, Craze, they're gonna have a real opportunity to look back and essentially prevent all those teams stuck at Classy Courts from actually rotating inwards towards this next edge of zone.
Yeah, if they want to make it difficult, they surely can at this point. But it's good that they moved out of there. They played their hand a little too soon, given that there were some teams, extra teams lurking nearby. Meanwhile, Source working on his architecture up here, trying to figure out a big base with visuals on all sides. Oh, you can't. Oh. I was gonna say, you can't leave your base open like that, but Source, you can't miss your shots like that either. That was perfect for him. And he's got the scope. Look at that, Mixon's there.
Man, we've somehow relocated from Classy Courts to even further north. Now at Catcher's Cove, Noxie and Crisp, Sunito and DeQuinted. They may have bit off a little bit more than they could chew. I'm not sure who started the chase from where, but matter of fact, the hand is both of these teams now could potentially just find themselves getting gate kept pretty heavily, and I think that's part of the reason why we see Sunito actually opting to just go fishing. DeQuinted, same mentality. They know it's better off to just depend on floppers or something to get our white health back than try and make a push now, because teams are just gonna hold us on the edge.
Yeah, their position went from bad to worse as they went way deeper into the storm there. Now you have teams like Oliver OG, obviously Crisp there, who's going to start setting up on the outskirts. It's going to get interesting real quick. What's happening down here for Verse and Redux right now? Sitting on the cactus. Seems like a little box fight might have broken out for this one. Yeah, look at the messy builds there. Either way, they're going to start moving now. The exchange is happening between Blake's duo and Blizzard's here.
Looking like Blizzard just trying to pay more attention towards the teams that might be located a little bit closer, hoping to try and utilize that flaming boost hoop slightly west of their position, or even just teams that are coming out of that weapons bunker. Keep in mind, weapons bunker always providing some optimal opportunities for teams that might need to get a few more promising attachments into their loadout. But again, this is a good split attention focus though from Blizzard and Gord. They seem like they're trying to get all their angles covered, and since they know that they're going to be able to rotate through some slurp cacti, I wouldn't be surprised to see them hang out a little bit longer at the Nitrodrome, because you can afford to take some of those early storm ticks when the slurp cacti are going to be able to regenerate your health no problem.
Look at Macwood. Again, looking to try to exchange with these duos. You had the Blizzard duo right there. Now you have a fresh duo rotating behind them. See how quickly they base up here. Not too sure who that was. Jerry's fire. It's going to put them on high alert right now. And there's another team coming from behind them, so that could kick something off big here on this southern part. And actually, I think Blake and Macwood might have to move ever so slightly. We'll see here in a minute. B-Dog and Eshu are going to be the ones that jump right over their base. Meanwhile, back to that story of Sinetto and DeQuented. So they had to fish.
Dude.
They did fish up some fish, but unfortunately it's a couple extra shield fish. Not going to really do much for them right now. And they're going to have to play the res train here unless this this vending machine can kick something out.
They're going to have to hope to...
They get it? Oh, gosh.
Doesn't... Oh, looks like they're able to use, yep, a couple of med kits, mending machine. But, I mean, at the same time, MDF, when your only med kit is coming from this far away from zone, storm sickness is going to be a very real concern for Sinetto and DeQuented at this point. And that's if we're not even factoring in the rest of the teams that are likely going to be able to hold these two at bay from entering zone in the first place.
Oh, luckily they do find some Nitro Splash. That'll help significantly here. But look, Davery's Rain, Jerry's Fire on the move right now, forcing their way, pushing through B-Dog and Eshu, who they saw, by the way, flying head over them. Both teams came out of that zone, so I'm assuming they were fighting somewhere back there, and this is just a chase continued. In the end, though, Rain and Fire come out on top right now.
On the opposite end of things, Edgy, Death, they got off to a pretty hot start in the first lobby, and they're trying to keep that momentum going. Caught up for a moment, and a bit of a mild box fight, but it seems as though Seaverse Redux a little bit hesitant to make a true move forward. And Edgy continuing to get some good shots, but ate a big one in return. Redux knows that's a decent tick into his shield. And that's going to put Edgy and Death in a slightly awkward position, because now another team has encroached upon their area, Thoric and Chris. But at the same time, Thoric and Chris might have actually helped out Edgy and Death indirectly. They're going to be able to rotate now, no problem, off the crash pad, and just look back and open fire onto the boxes from which they just came.
What is going on? They're going back. Another team jumps in as they decide that, hey, wait a second, maybe we could get this refresher. Why try to farm while we move? And all of a sudden now everyone is caught in this melting pot here on the edge of the storm, and Thoric's got the short end of the stick here. He is literally in the storm right now, eating. But look, it's only Edgy and Death who literally have a good spot here. Meanwhile, Alex has jumped all the way in with King. They have just committed. They must be desperate for Storm Surge right now. That has to be the thought process here for Death and Edgy.
Look at how they're holding. They may have even caught wind of Silic and his duo when they started moving closer towards that action. And the way that all of those teams kind of just compiled on one another leads me to believe that it's become very evident, at least for Death and Edgy's awareness, that those were likely duos that all needed Surge to some extent. And now, Death and Edgy, one more time, they're gonna keep that in the back of their minds. There's definitely still some traction from the box fight they just came out of, but as they make their way, just sticking a little bit closer towards the low ground, hovering side, using the natural map terrain to keep themselves covered from the Nitrodrome teams.
This Mordecai managing to stick it out with Rigby here. This is up against Olaf. He ends up finding his elimination. Olaf slips out the field. He takes the hard way out, misses the crash pad on the landing. That's a tough one. But Mordecai, after that game one, man, just getting crushed under the weight of the early game. They only managed to secure themselves 4 points in that game, so this is a fresh take here. And I was just gonna say before we jumped away from Edgy and Dev, like, they're just one good game away. That's it. They've already had a great game one. One good game away from securing their top 15 spot here. Closing in on it as we're getting really close to the placement points now. Zone 5 is about to fully close here. And then 6 is going to start pushing players across, cutting the field in half, doing all the good stuff we love. Here's Chris and Thoric into the box. 2 eliminations. Can he make it a third here? It is very likely. 20 is sticking around the cactus. What are you doing? You hear the team coming and you see your teammate jumping out of there. And he was just a little late to the punch there to pull the trigger.
That's just a tough break for 20 and Broken. I mean, we saw they were poised on their Surge base, but unfortunately, the Flowberry Fizz, the crash pads, it's really hard to read when those teams are gonna land on you if you don't catch that initial rotate in the first place, and neither of them just seemed like they were prepared or looking that direction. Thoric and Chris definitely getting the break that they needed. As far as their Surge damage is concerned, that is going to put them back above. But again, teams now starting to collect a little bit west of Restored Reels, starting to pull closer and closer to Grim Gate. River of Styx, these underworld dashes now coming into effect, and Blaha tries to get some shots going onto a team in the distance, but left the wall open a little bit too long and draws in some fire from elsewhere. Wants to see if he can get a little bit of revenge. Could have potentially been Gord and Blizzard, but Gord, the moment that he makes a move off of the Nitro Splash, easy body tag, and Blaha and Mixon just continue to build up because they're going to need every bit of damage they can get. 42 below currently. One more good shot could be the difference maker, but Mixon, he's only got this Enforcer Assault Rifle to work with. At least he's got Thermal Scope on it. Gonna make it a little bit easier, but not quite as much damage as a just DMR potentially provide. Still at 30, and just barely below 10.
Yeah, these tags he's getting are definitely important. They're keeping him right there in the game. But he's gonna have to go the distance here and now. And this is where you start to make the big decisions here. You go box to box, do you get involved with some of these scrappy duos, or do you stay patient? Looks like patience gonna pay off there. Jumps him up another 100 tag. That's gonna alleviate some room, but however, he is still hip to hip with other teams here. But look at what we're watching. Mixon and Blaha actually turning on the gas right now, finding their opportunities, getting their refreshers. These are very, very important, very special pickups right now because now they're setting themselves up for the end game. They're setting themselves up to play for a good spot, for the ideal spot.
We also just saw Chubbs and Skittles. They were kind of in the thick of it inside of all those metal boxes that Blaha and Mixon were just trying to shoot the walls down of. Austin and Northern, they're currently based up, but again, not exactly comfortable enough with their surge damage. They're trying to get a little bit more to work with. Don't manage to connect onto Skittles and Chubbs, and now they got to worry about Chubbs and Skittles just kind of basing up right next to them. More teams even further ahead. Chris by himself, 5 eliminations in total, but he's lost Thoric along the way, and there's still only 216 above. Chris has got to be real careful here. He's just going to commit to trying to tarp through the low ground. Actually has a decent amount of space claimed, but it won't take long for the lobby to realize this is a solo player trying to act as if they're a duo with the amount of territory claimed, and sure enough, Antonio, Z-Link, they want everything that Chris has to offer. Look at those 2 Nuka-Colas that he could possibly provide, but the Underworld Dash is gonna bail him out for the time being. And nobody seems to recognize the fact that he is just under everyone inside the River of Sticks.
Yeah, it's just a couple stray shots coming in, you know. He's just trying to build here to stay in the game. And this is crazy because he actually managed to earn placement points. Look, from 26th place, he was right outside of that. Now he's in 22nd. This is a pretty significant game. We're talking about the placement points you start to earn now. Considering they have those 5 elims, that's big. That's going to swing them way on up, even though it may not look it. Meanwhile, Visuals and Braids now seeing the sight lines here. All this golden opportunity to find tags on teams down below. They need this. They're just holding on by a thread. The zone's going to start moving here. They don't have a crash pad ready just yet. They're just going to go with what looks to be a clean Nitro run. Pop's giving and jumping away. Meanwhile, Epic Whale Muzz. What is going on right here? Talk about getting involved here, putting your name inside the conversation, earning the respect here. Fighting their way through the lows and mids right now into the safety of this storm line. And it's a scrappy battle down here, and they're sitting on a lot of loot.
Yeah, but there's always a method to the madness, and Muzz and Epic, they know they're going to have to clear out some players that are already boxed up in front of them if they want to be able to fully control that mid to ultimate low ground. We've seen time and time again how much success teams in the upper bracket had, even from controlling that low ground territory up until around that 9th, 10th, 11th zone, where they make a push for those height takes. It could be what Muzz and Epic Whale are trying to set up for. We see Rigby and Mordecai, though, headed straight towards the high ground. Just a couple of regular guys. But we'll have to see whether or not they're going to actually be able to control that height layer, because it is bound to draw attention from the rest of the lobby. So many of these experienced players hungry to get their own piece of the pie.
This is where things get real dangerous, because all the underworld dashes, players are taking these dashes into this end game right now. So high ground, you're absolutely not safe, not given the fact that, you know, obviously with the crash pads and all the other combinations of ways that they can boost their way up to the top here, the dashes are going to be that unforeseen circumstance you have to be really careful with right now. But for now, Rigby and Mordecai do have control here. Meanwhile, Epic Whale Muzz from the far side try to rotate super wide here, but Muzz gets caught. It's up to Epic Whale now. Pressure coming in from all types of angles here. He's down to wood builds. This is going to make him even more of a target. But it's a top 15, better than we've seen him, that's for sure.
At this point, every placement point just becomes more and more monumental. Epic Whale trying to see if he could go big in this secondary lobby. You don't want to leave your fate down to having an insane performance in that final match of the lower bracket and then praying that it's enough to push you into that top 15. Poffiee, Source, a little bit of Flowberry Fizz. You can gauge when these teams are about to make a move once that Flowberry Fizz comes out. And Blizzard just going to hold on to his final crash pad for the time being. Might even use it to just get up and over some of these pre-existing builds. Takes a moment to look back. And there are wood builds flying up every which way, but no real opportunities for shots to take place just yet. And Mordecai and Rigby still holding strong on the high ground. Keep in mind, they're a team that's won in Victory Royale in the past, in our earlier weeks of the open calls, but Trashy threats one more time from the low ground, but Trashy completely caught off guard. Oliver OG gets the better end of the deal.
I didn't even know Oliver was still in this game right now. In the top 10 put down by Threats, but what a disruptor to Trashy there, taking him down. But Threats now has a lot to worry about. Finds Blizzard with a beautiful shot there. Couldn't secure the elim though. Those are going to be some potential lost points here. Meanwhile, Source from up top has to come down now. 11 builds. Working his way past these old builds, and some of the recycled structures have definitely worked out well for them. And they're very much aware that anything can happen. Look at them playing safely here. Meanwhile, Braids and Visuals might actually be the team to win from the low ground here, given how much HP they have right now. If they can secure this next fight without taking too much damage, we're going to see ourselves in a real situation here, because Source hasn't come down just yet. They might be giving Braids and Visuals a little too much time to get comfortable. Here it is, a clean 2v2. They land a first tag and they trade on both sides, but nothing too good. And Source going for it, losing track of his teammate. Poffee's hurt. It's all going down right now. Braids secures the high ground. This is exactly what I was afraid of. That Source didn't have the match, but you gave Braids too much time. And now, one shot, and it's the right camera angle for Source to win the game. Such a close one there.
I know that Source and Poffiee had to be sweating, though, by the end of it, because it really did look like Braids was going to be able to actually steal that one from up and under them. But hey, at the same time, though, once they saw them first overtake that high ground, there was really no one left to try and contest them for it. And honestly, just a really excellently timed shot there from Source. He knew he could not afford to miss, because a victory royale at this point is practically going to ensure you a very solid position inside of that top 15. So it couldn't have come at a better moment than the penultimate game before we close out on semifinals for this weekend.
Yeah, one thing you got to be really conscious of is, you know, making that decision too late. So when I'm noticing Source and Poffiee kind of sit around allowing Visuals to get these, you know, siphon materials, right? The refreshes here. That is dangerous territory you're messing with right there. But in the end, Source and Poffiee do pull through. And he's excited. He was happy. Love to see the reactions right there. And that should secure them a top 15 pretty much right there. Source and Poffiee playing very well. Game 2 in the books now, Taco.
Yeah, he heard us earlier talking about, hey, you can't miss those shots, and guess what? He didn't miss the one that mattered most, so big congratulations to them, but it's now down to Zeke, Vivid, and Kelly to let us know what's up before our final match of semifinals.